Thomas E. Ketchum, known as Black Jack, was a cowboy who later turned to a life of crime. He was hanged in 1901 for attempted train robbery. First train robberies and murders. Tom Ketchum was born in San Saba County, Texas. He left Texas in 1890, possibly after committing a crime. He worked as a cowboy in the Pecos River Valley of New Mexico, where by 1894, his older brother, Sam Ketchum, had joined him. Black Jack and a group of others were named as the robbers of an Atchison, Topeka and Santa Fe railway train that was en route to Deming, New Mexico Territory, in 1892 with a large payroll aboard. The gang supposedly robbed the train just outside of Nutt, New Mexico Territory, a water station 20 miles north of Deming. Black Jack and his gang would often visit the ranch of Herb Bassett, near Browns Park, Colorado, who was known to have done business with several outlaws of the day, having supplied them with beef and fresh horses. Herb Bassett was the father of female outlaws Josie Bassett and Ann Bassett, who were girlfriends to several members of Butch Cassidy's Wild Bunch Gang. One of Ann Bassett's boyfriends and future Wild Bunch Gang member, Ben Kilpatrick, began riding with Black Jack's gang about that time. Outlaw Bronco Bill Walters, later noted for the legend of his hidden loot near Solomonville, Arizona, is also believed to have begun riding with the gang at this time. The second major crime attributed to Tom was the murder of a neighbor, John N. Jap Powers, in Tom Green County, Texas, on December 12, 1895. However, information at the Sutton Historical Society in Texas says that Will Carver and Sam Ketchum were the ones actually accused of killing Powers in Knickerbocker. Fearing the law, they closed their joint saloon and gambling venture in San Angelo, and hit the outlaw trail. Within 6 months, Mrs. Powers and her lover, J. E. Wright, were arrested for the murder, but it was too late for Carver and the Ketchums. By late 1895, outlaw Harvey Kid Curry Logan and his brother Lonnie Curry were members of Black Jack's gang. However, in early 1896, a dispute concerning their share of robbery loot prompted the Currys to leave the gang. It is alleged that Ketchum was involved with the February 1, 1896, disappearance and presumed murders of Albert Jennings Fountain and his son Henry Fountain of Las Cruces, New Mexico. In early June 1896, after working for the famed Bell Ranch in New Mexico, Tom and Sam Ketchum, and possibly others, robbed a combined store and post office at Liberty, New Mexico, northwest of present-day Tecumseh. According to contemporary accounts, the Ketchums rode into Liberty on June 12 and purchased supplies. That evening, a thunderstorm began, and they returned to the store, owned by Morris and Levi Hestine, who invited them to take shelter. Returning the next morning to open his store, Levi Hestine found that both the store and post office had been burglarized. After gathering a posse, Hestine set out on the outlaws' trail. The posse, composed of just 4 men, took the 2 outlaws by surprise in the Plaza Largo Arroyo, where a shootout immediately began. Seconds later both Levi Hestine and Hermenegildo Gallegos lay dead. Seeing his comrades fall, Anastasio Borg turned his horse and rode out of the arroyo. Placido Garula Copyright, the 4th member of the posse, also survived to give an account. Garula Copyright said he had been struck by a .30-30 bullet that knocked him off of his horse. He landed on the ground with a blow that knocked the wind out of him. He lay in a semi-conscious state as Black Jack Ketchum emptied his rifle into the bodies of Levi Hestine and Hermenegildo Gallegos. Tom and Sam Ketchum were never tried for the killings at the Plaza Largo Arroyo, but Morris Hestine reportedly was present in Clayton, New Mexico Territory to witness the hanging of Black Jack Ketchum in 1901. Morris Hestine moved to Clayton shortly after the killing in Liberty, and finally into the Texas Panhandle area. This is memorialized by the inscription on a shoe brush, Hestine's Clayton, New Mexico, Dalhart, Texas. If it's from Hestine's it's correct. Morris was the father of Albert Hestine, who became one of the founders of Big 3 Industries in Houston, and is the man who helped the museum in Clayton to become a reality years later. Joining the Hole in the Wall gang, following this event, Thomas Ketchum joined other outlaws of the Hole in the Wall gang and continued a life of crime, focusing on train robberies, although when not robbing trains they worked for several ranches in New Mexico and Texas. Several other notable outlaws operated out of Hole in the Wall, which was a hideout for numerous outlaw gangs which operated separately. The famous Wild Bunch Gang, led by Butch Cassidy and Elzie Lay, operated out of there. One Wild Bunch Gang member, Kid Curry, along with his brother Lonnie Curry, had previously ridden with Black Jack Ketchum and his gang. He and Ketchum did not like each other, and Ketchum avoided Curry as much as possible, as Curry was well known to be the most dangerous of the Wild Bunch Gang, and would kill 9 lawmen over the course of the next 8 years. During this time, Tom Ketchum was once identified mistakenly as Black Jack Christian, another outlaw, and that became his nickname as well. 3 of the train robberies that the gang committed were near the same location, between Folsom and Des Moines, New Mexico Territory. This was at the point where the old Fort Union Wagon Road crossed the Colorado and Southern Railroad tracks near Twin Mountain. On September 3, 1897, they committed their first robbery at Twin Mountain. Then, on July 11, 1899, the gang, without Blackjack, robbed the train again at Twin Mountain. After the robbery, Sam and several unknown gang members, in addition to Wild Bunch Gang members Will Carver and William Ellsworth El Soleil, headed for the mountains southwest of Raton, New Mexico Territory. The next day, a posse consisting of Sheriff Edvar of Hafano County, Colorado, Special Agent W. H. Reno of the Colorado and Southern Railroad, and 5 deputies found their trail and tracked them into Turkey Creek Canyon near Cimarron, New Mexico. There, the posse engaged them in a gun battle. Sam Ketchum and 2 deputies were wounded seriously, and the gang escaped. Sam Ketchum's wounds slowed the intended escape, and they made it only a short distance from the initial shootout. Several members of the posse cornered the Ketchum gang a few days later, still in the same area of the territory. Deputy W. H. Love and Sheriff Edvar engaged the outlaws in another gun battle, resulting in both Farr and Love being killed, while the posse wounded at least 2 unknown members of the gang. Sam Ketchum escaped, but was found a few days later by Special Agent Reno at the home of a rancher, where he was arrested. Sam Ketchum was taken to the Santa Fe Territorial Prison, where he died from his gunshot wounds. He was buried in the Oddfellows Rest Cemetery, now the Fairview Cemetery on Cerrillos Road in Santa Fe. Elzie, or El Soleil was born November 25, 1868, Mount Pleasant, Ohio. Lay had come out west to Denver, and became an outlaw after mistakenly believing he had killed a man. Jailed for life after the killing of Sheriff Farr after the Folsom robbery, he was released in 1906. He returned to Alma, New Mexico Territory and lived there for 2 years. He stayed with Louis and Walter Jones, who in 1904 had built a large merchandise store at Alma. Elzie died aged 65 in Los Angeles, on November 10, 1934. Capture and death. On August 16, 1899, Tom Ketchum, supposedly knowing nothing of the July 11 holdup which ended in the death of his brother Sam, single-handedly attempted to rob the same train again at the same place and in the same way that he and Sam and others had robbed it just a few weeks earlier. The train conductor, Frank Arrington, saw Tom approaching the moving train. He recognized him, grabbed a shotgun, and shot Tom in the arm, knocking him off his horse. The train continued, and the next day a posse came out and found Tom beside of the tracks, badly wounded. He was transported to medical facilities at Trinidad, Colorado, and his right arm had to be amputated. He was nursed back to health and then sent to Clayton, New Mexico Territory, for trial. At the trial, Ketchum was convicted and sentenced to death. He was the only person ever hanged in Union County, New Mexico Territory. He was also the only person who suffered capital punishment for the offense of felonious assault upon a railway train in New Mexico Territory. Later, the law was found to be unconstitutional. Ketchum was executed by hanging in Clayton. Nobody in Clayton had any experience in conducting hangings. The rope was too long, and since Ketchum had gained a significant amount of weight during his time in jail, he was decapitated when he dropped through the trapdoor. His last words were reported by the San Francisco Chronicle as, "Goodbye." Please dig my grave very deep. All right. Hurry up. A popular postcard was made showing the body. Afterwards his head was sewn back onto the body for viewing, and he was interred at the Clayton Cemetery. Western actor Jack Elam portrayed Ketchum in an episode of the 1954 Euro 55 syndicated television series Stories of the Century, Tales of the American West, starring and narrated by Jim Davis. See also, Jeff Burton, Dynamite and Six Shooter, The Story of Thomas E. Black Jack Ketchum, Sunstone Press, Box 2321, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87504-2321, 2007. References. External links: The Spudleys homepage at www.hal-pc.org, Biography, Clayton, New Mexico.